Yo, what's going on YouTube fam? Jeff Fallout here, back at it again with another video. So for today's video topic, we're going to be talking about the reason I decided to become a nurse. So yes, hope you guys are staying safe out there with this whole COVID-19 pandemic. And yeah, let's hop into this video. Alright, so boom, flashback to 2010, 2011, somewhere around that time. We have high school Jeff. Around this time I was in this academy in high school, which was actually for medical assistant training, but it kind of like transitioned into this firefighter slash EMT training program. We would have to like do shadow hours outside of school with the fire department, where we would go and like do ride-alongs, I guess, and basically see what they did. So around that time I had it in my mind that I was gonna be a firefighter slash paramedic. I was like you know, pretty interested in that career path. After doing all the shadowing, I got really close with a few firefighters in that department, and I was basically like in this program called the Explore program, where like high school kids can like go and like do trainings and like ride along. So once I graduated, I was actually like all set, ready to go to college and become a firefighter paramedic. And so one day I actually talked with my mom, and she just like sat me down and convinced me not to become a firefighter. Basically, she felt that it wouldn't be the best option for me. She didn't think I would find a job too easily, which could be like pretty accurate. I feel like myself, I had like a good chance of finding a job, and then I had a friend who was also in that program with me, and he found a job in that same department that we were training in. I actually listened to her. So for those of you that don't know, I'm actually Haitian, so this comes into play during this conversation, because for those of you that don't know, like a lot of Caribbean households like Haitians, Jamaicans, for the most part, your career options are either you're going to become a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, or an engineer. So you get those four choices. But you know, those are like the career options that are like forced upon you kind of at an early age. So growing up, my mom would always like talk about nursing. I thought, after doing some research, why not give nursing a try? After seeing like some of the parallels between mostly ER nursing and what firefighters and paramedics do, I thought that would be like a good balance. So it's kind of like funny actually, because outside of that little research that I did, like watching a few YouTube videos, I really had no idea what a nurse actually did. And like you know, it's kind of even hard to explain now what like nurses actually do, because we do so much. Our job is just like a spectrum of things, like whether it be from like observing patients, providing their care, or like operating machines that are like keeping them alive, like hanging drips and stuff like that. So it's just like, you know, a whole spectrum of things that we do. But looking back, it's kind of like just interesting how I kind of like jumped in with like both feet into a career path that I didn't really know too well, which ended up turning pretty good, and I'm like completely happy with my decision. It was me and my best friend Dave's. Shout out to my boy. He's a psych nurse. Is he psych? Yeah, psych nurse right now out here in California as well, doing his thing. But we ended up pretty much both deciding to do nursing. So we went through all of undergrad and then all of nursing school together. Yeah, it was kind of cool having one of your best friends go through that entire nursing journey, which is honestly super exhausting and a lot of work, but super rewarding in the end. So I ended up finishing undergrad that semester with like a 3.2 GPA, I want to say, or something like that. So we both applied to this nursing school in Florida, and Dave's ends up getting in. And then I had like pretty much the same GPA and like all like the same background as like him and like all that stuff. So for my application, I never really got a response from it. So I would like call the school and like try to like follow up to see what like happened with my application, and never really got a reply. So the school actually ended up starting. So Dave's goes through like a whole week of class pretty much, and then like I'm trying to like figure out what my next plan is, like what I'm going to do as far as like going to another nursing school and seeing what my options are. So for that like week, I had like been doing other school applications, going to different schools to see what I could do. And then I finally decided that I would actually just go to the school and see like if there was like any issue with my application and like see what the problem was. It ended up being that one of the classes I had taken, one of the transcripts wasn't sent in by the school because I had like filed it too early. So I was still kind of waiting on one more class at the time to be sent in. So I ended up speaking with the program director at that school, and you know, we had like a good conversation. She ended up really liking me and actually allowed me to like join into the nursing program at that school like a week after classes had actually started. I just had to get that transcript over to their nursing department, and boom, basically that was in. So I was in nursing school a week later, and it's just like a crazy story, but yeah, that's how it happened. So, you know, shout out to that boy, God. You know, he really came through with that one. So I'm in nursing school. You know, we're doing all our clinicals and all that stuff, going through different rotations in the different departments in the hospital. You know, I thought ER would be the like the department that I enjoyed the most, being that it like paralleled a lot of the things that paramedics and like firefighters kind of do. But I ended up really falling in love with the ICU. You know, just to me, they had like a lot of cool aspects of their job that I really liked. I felt kind of like that they practiced at like the highest level as far as like nurses that work in hospitals. Because, you know, they would get like all the critical patients, all the codes, all the cases that required close monitoring like of that patient. So I had it in my mind at that time that I was going to be an ICU nurse, and you know, that was like my goal, like to be an ICU nurse like straight out of nursing school. Actually didn't end up working that way. I actually think I visited like every hospital like in the down south Florida area. Like I'd like get dressed up in a suit, bring some resumes with me, go to the ICU manager's office and like, you know, try to see them face to face and hand them a resume and talk to them for a little bit and try to get an interview. Well, ended up failing, didn't work, but well, in a sense it kind of did work because that's kind of how I got my first job in CVICU, because one of the managers remembered me. So I did end up getting a job at this telemetry floor in this hospital. Me and my other friend, Young Clam, aka Young Clementina, we both went to this job fair and ended up working on this brand new unit that just got built at this hospital, and we were there pretty much for like a year, and it was pretty cool. It was honestly like a pretty acute telemetry floor. Like there was like a lot of stuff going on, and it really prepared us to be like good nurses. I could say, like, honestly, I really learned a lot that transitioned over to what I would be doing in CVICU. But I'm not gonna lie, I was really bummed out that I actually didn't like start off as an ICU nurse that first year. But you know, it ended up working out pretty well because I ended up actually meeting a CRNA that was a patient of mine in that hospital. So it was pretty like interesting because I was open for an admission. I get the call from one of the ER nurses. She tells me I'm getting a patient. I'm like, all right, cool. I look into some of the info on the patient. I see that we have actually the same birth date, and I'm just like, that's interesting. And then I end up talking to her, and it turns out she works as a CRNA in that hospital. And then we ended up really hitting it off, and she actually offered to let me shadow her, which was pretty cool. Honestly, at that time, I didn't really think I was gonna be going back to CRNA school, or probably any school for that matter. I kind of thought of nursing as more or less like the terminal degree that I wanted, and I didn't really see myself like going back to school. But everything like really changed after that shadow experience, and it just like kind of kick-started the CRNA career path goals that I had. So after that, we became like really good friends. She's actually became like a mentor to me and someone I go to for advice, and she just like keeps me on track, focused on what my goals are and like the different things I had to accomplish to be able to apply for a CRNA school. So shortly after that, I had completed 1 year of being a telemetry nurse on that floor. I was under contract for 1 year, so once that year was done, I was looking for an ICU position, and I ended up going to this other job fair like maybe like a few weeks after my contract was up, and then I got a meeting or interview with the CV ICU nurse director at this other hospital, which I told you guys earlier. And she remembered me, so did the interview, did well on it, and then I ended up working there. Did a year there also got my CCRN certification. That's news, you guys don't know that yet. I'll probably do a video about that and like how to study for it and you know, be prepared to take the test. But yes, got my critical care registered nurse certification. And yeah, that kind of leads up to like my current situation now, working as a travel nurse in the ICU also. I'm in like a trauma ICU. And yeah, that's pretty much the journey of like how I became a nurse and the reason why I became a nurse. So far, it's been a pretty interesting journey. I'm not even gonna lie, like just saying everything back on camera is pretty like, you know, pretty crazy to think about like all the stuff that like happened. But you know, that's it for the video today. Definitely you guys subscribe and, you know, give this a thumbs up and a like, and, you know, share if you want. But that's it for this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.